All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the A Better Me Equals a Better We podcast. I am your host, Trey. Super excited to be here with you guys again. I know we haven't seen each other for a few weeks. I'm sad as well, but I'm super excited to be here again and talk about these topics with you guys. We are on episode number 24. Episode number 24, almost at 25. That's one of those milestone episodes. So super excited to make it to 24. This week's episode is titled Men You're a Catch Too. All right, we talking specifically to the men, but definitely not excluding the ladies. We'll definitely bring that up as well. In this episode, I brought someone who is very intelligent, very diverse. Right, he's not in one box. He does this, that. And the third, pastor, yoga instructor. Well, I'll let him introduce himself. So, Naran, why don't you introduce yourself for our viewers and tell them just a little bit about yourself?
Hey, how you guys doing? First of all, thank you for having me on your podcast, Trey. I don't take it lightly that you share this platform. And my name is Naran Tillman. I've been preaching now for over 20 years. I'm an entrepreneur, a podcaster myself. I have actually 2 podcasts, and we now are in the production business where we are producing podcasts. My podcast is Walk in Victory, and we also have One Ministries podcast, which is just really the word that we give every week. We kind of bring it to life through the podcast platform since COVID. And Walk in Victory is about leadership and business building and funny conversations. We enter into our 3rd season of that. And I'm also a business coach and entrepreneur, yoga instructor. We kind of do a little bit of everything. And I'm excited to have this conversation with Trey tonight and with your community.
Yeah, here we go. Right. So even though Naran is a pastor, yoga instructor, mindfulness coach, an entrepreneur, a car salesman, right?
As I was saying, I was like the jack of all trades, right?
Right. Right. But even with all of these things being said, right, men are a catch too. A lot of times people they think like, all right, pastor, like he can't tell me nothing if it's not about the Bible, right? Whole time, Naran is from Far Rockaway, Queens, right? So with that being said, there's a lot of experience when you grow up in a neighborhood like that. And me and Naran actually had a conversation about this particular topic behind closed doors. That's why I thought it would be great to have him on, right? So in all of our conversations, I always like to start like from the very beginning, right? And when we look at men and who's the catch and women or the men or the prize or whatever the case may be, I always think back like being younger and growing up. I was always taught, or I feel like most men are always taught to chase. Like, what would you say? Like, what's your opinion on that, Naran?
Well, it's funny because if you look at the male-female dynamic, not these new males, but my generation and your generation, like we had uncles around us, like, yo, look at that girl,
Yeah.
So they put it in you to be a chaser, to go pursue. Where the women are trained to not give in. So we almost look at ourselves as we need to be out there chasing all the time. And women are looking at themselves as the total opposite. The more you hold it, the better it is. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's from that, those 2 separate mindsets, those 2 different seeds that is planted. It's hard for a man to feel like he's a catch,
Right?
Because he's always pursuing.
Right. Always constant, especially in the adolescent years, because now you're pursuing for a different reason.
Yeah, clout.
Right. What are some effects, or do you think there's any negative effects from teaching a young child? You have two sons, right? So what do you think would be some negative effects as a parent, or as somebody that's like somebody that someone looks up to teach a young man to chase?
Well, I mean, at what age?
Right.
because it grows with you. Like our worldview follows us wherever we are, and there becomes dynamics. Like now, look at what happened with Governor Cuomo, and a man of power, and he was, I'm gonna use the words that he used. He was kind of out of touch with the time. Didn't realize that the time changed. And, he grew up in the good old days when you could say, "Come here, toots," you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And but that comes from that mindset that not only am I a chaser, but people want me to chase them. They want my they want my advances, even when they're not warranted. They want my crash jokes. They want all those things, even when they're not they're not welcome.
Yeah.
And if there is no way of quenching that, especially when you get power, money, authority, now you become a little bit more
right,
a little worse, because you have nothing in between us to no checks and balances to say, all right, this is not okay.
Yeah.
And that's why I said it depends on the age.
Yeah.
Because when you're a teenager and you're popular, those advances may be given back. When you get older, the subtleties of chivalry has to take place, and there's so many different variables and dynamics. But it can, as we have seen on a number of men that have been messed up by that mindset.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's so crazy to think about it, because it's something that's just so normal. Like us being taught, like, yo, chase, oh yeah, you got to get as many as you can get. And then when you get to a certain age or a certain stage in your life, I should say, because it's people they gonna die pimps and players, right? So I want to say, when you get to a certain mindset, you start to realize, like, wait, some of these values just I don't really know if this really adds up. And then, especially when situations change for women, now you get to look at it from a different perspective, and you realize, like, wait, I might not be the predator anymore, right? Like I might be the prey now.
Because
let's talk about that. Like when the roles switch, like, wait, I might not need to be the predator or on go like all the time.
So it's like the guy who couldn't get anybody in his teenage years, right? And now they went through college, they're a doctor, they're a lawyer, so now they become the catch, right? So they have two different dynamics going on in their mind. One is nobody wanted me before, so that insecurity is always going to kind of be there.
Mm-hmm.
And then that second thing, maybe, and I don't want to pin everybody into the same box, so it varies. When we get older, the young man who has had opportunities may not value it as much, but then the guy who hasn't had those opportunities, now he has things. He now feels that the opportunity is here, and let me just go and do what I couldn't do when I was a younger man, because now I have things and people actually want me for my stuff, not necessarily for me. But then that brings up insecurities.
Yeah. And Trey said in our comments, it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun, right? And I think we see that. A lot. Especially like just jumping into now our adult years, right? We see that a lot in our adult years, where I've seen meme after meme where it was like, your crush that didn't want you and how she looked now or whatever, and it's like she looked crazy now and now she wants you or whatever, and now you're the one, like now you the rabbit, you got the gun, and now it's like, oh no, like back then they didn't want me, now I'm hot, they all on me, right? And then life takes its toll, right? And in my opinion, and I remember you said this to me a few years back, with men chasing, and then you get to a certain age where now women are not withholding just to be withholding because that's what they were taught. Now there's a standard. Like, I need to, this box has to be checked off, this box has to be checked off, you got to have this, you got to have that, you got to be able to lead me in this way, you got to be able to lead me, you got to bring certain things to the table. And now if you're a guy that brings those things to the table, like you like the new car on the lot.
Yeah, you the catch. And in the psychology behind that, though, which is why it's difficult for people to finally get married or to stay in monogamous or whatever, is because we know it. We know that these standards are out here. We know that these things need to happen. So now we approach the situation with a sense of arrogance, right?
Yes.
Same way they did. So when you pursuing them, you call it like, oh, I'm busy on the weekend, and so it's like now the roles have changed, and you start to display sense of confidence that can be bordering arrogance. You start to display a sense of elusiveness.
Right.
Not necessarily to the to sexual encounters, but to everything that comes along with the demands that one puts on one another.
Yeah.
It's hard to find your mate. It's hard to find somebody that you're going to be like, you know what, I'm done with that, and I'm going to be right here. So, and when you value what you have, now your standards change. Because before it was just about how a person looked, it was just about how a person, how they walk, how they smell when they came in the room. And now you're like, listen, I'm bringing so much to the table. I got a 720 credit score. I already own a house. I already got all these things. What are you adding? Because we're both now looking for value.
Right.
That's where the roads kind of change, because what we're saying is, I'm looking for value, but I'll still lay down with you.
Yeah. Yep. That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we good to go
That's
out.
the one. Now let's bring it to a biblical standpoint. So in the Bible it says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing, right? But that wouldn't, that like, if I'm somebody that hasn't read it, or I take that out of context, or and I don't analyze that would almost sound like the Bible is telling men to chase, because we have to find it, right? What would you say to that?
Well, in those days, the marriages were fixed and arranged. You can marry you can find as many wives as you can afford. So that whole he who found a wife, yeah, it was true, but you also married to your class. Like you weren't like if you came from royalty, you would usually marry somebody, and we talking about Jewish customs, that had the same line of royalty, because they didn't want to mix those lines together. If you was a peasant, that's all that you could ever ascribe to be, then you would marry somebody along those lines.
Yeah.
So you found somebody in your lane. Here we can marry up, we can marry down. We can marry on our level. But yeah, so seeking out a wife makes it difficult. If you go out and you say, yo, I'm looking for a woman to marry, it's gonna make it it's going to make it difficult to find, because then you start to force qualities on a person that they might not necessarily have.
Yeah, yeah. What would you say about? I've been hearing this a lot, right? This term. Well, not that I've been hearing this, before this, but I've been hearing this in like social media lately. The term unequally yoked, right? And I even watched a video on that recently. Somebody sent me a video about being unequally yoked and the dangers of it. How do you know if you're unequally yoked? What's in when we talk about men being a catch, right? The catch is usually value, right? Like I'm going to catch this fish, I'm going to catch whatever this is because it has value, right? When we talk about being unequally yoked, like what are some signs of that?
So equally yoked is funny because we could believe in the same God, so to say. And then when we start to talk about God, we realize that we're not talking about the same God. And just because we go to church don't make it. And people have taken that equally yoked thing like, oh, he go to church and I go to church, but you might be a traditional Baptist and he's Pentecostal. You think you had a fight before. Right. So just saying that I'm a Christian is not, that doesn't yoke us.
Mm-hmm.
You can be unequally yoked in worldview.
That's a fact.
How I choose to discipline our children, how you choose to discipline the children, how we choose to celebrate holidays, because when we're not looking at that yoke and that in those mindsets, we don't find out certain things until years down, right?
That's a fact. And then is that one of the things, like when you counsel people, is that one of the things that you kind of urge people to do, like ask more questions?
I tend to stay away from counseling because I'm a little bit too blunt and people don't like that. But one of the things that my battery's on the low. One of the things that I do if I do counsel is, yes, I do try to get people to explore deeper. Like, there's a lot of the problems that we bring to relationships, just like any relationship, business, church, is communication. We don't communicate properly. But when I mean by communicate properly, and I have a hard time communicating certain things, but I understand it, and so I work on it. But we don't communicate properly because we're always anticipating how the other person is going to respond to what it is that we want to say.
Yeah.
So there's a level of us that are always going to be in dress rehearsal trying to perform so that we won't disappoint the person that we are supposed to perform for.
And then it all falls down at a certain point. Like at some point, it's all gonna fall down because you can perform all you want, right? And then now you guys get married, you're in the honeymoon stage, and now you find out that he leave the toilet up, like, and you fall in the toilet in the middle of the night, right? Like now you find out that he leave toothpaste on the sink, in the bathroom after he finished brushing his teeth, like a bunch of different things because you don't ask these questions. In today's society, marriage is one of those things. I've noticed like a more of like a uptick in people wanting to get married and being engaged, which I think is amazing. But at some point, I want to say the last decade or so, like you really didn't see too many people getting married, a lot of kids being born and parents splitting up and things of that sort. I think, and if ladies, if you're watching, comment. The link is also in the comments if you guys want to call in and speak with us live.
Keep talking. I'm going to get my battery.
But you guys can call in live if y'all want to talk about this too or answer this question. But I think for me, I've noticed that now for women, they went from, let's say, being the one that was chased. you might end up in a situation that didn't work out the way that you liked it to, or wasn't ideal. And then now the standard is so much more higher, right? Now, when you're looking for a man, it's not like, okay, this man, he look good, he smell good, he make me laugh, we go out on dates. Like now it's bigger than that, right? So if you're a woman, I really want to know like y'all opinion when it comes to the standard, and not necessarily meaning that you don't want a guy to chase you. So the catch is not the one that's being chased per se, but just more so in the sense of having value. And I think that Natalie said in our comments, women are proposing to men. Like we in that day and time where it's like, yo, listen, I'm trying to get this done, and it is what it is. Quan, I said, what can we accomplish together? Like, definitely, right? So now when you think about you being a woman and what you bring to the table, especially what I love the women empowerment that we've been seeing over the last few decades, independent, strong women, and that's amazing. But at the end of the day, no matter how strong or independent I am as a man, I still need a woman. Like, or no matter how strong or independent you are as a woman, you still need a man. There are things that we just do for each other, right? It was always designed that way for us to fill in the blanks for each other, right? So I really want to know. For is it a thing, for a woman to pursue a man, like, or to pursue a man? Like, do you women, like, or I don't know, like, Naran, has this happened to you? Like, maybe I'm just not that guy, because I tell people all the time, like, chicks don't just walk up to me, women don't walk up to me and they're like, hey, how you doing? What's your name? Like, so is that a thing? Like, how does that work?
It's funny. This, like, I'm reading some of the comments. The women now proposing to men, tying the shoes. Like the women's liberation movement has gone so far that we've lost balance, and it's hard to even discuss, because then you come across like you're chauvinistic.
Yeah. He said women do, but I'm not.
Yeah, because if you come if you say to a female, like, look, I don't need you to be that aggressive. I don't need you. Then it's like, oh, you're trying to tell me who to be. That's why it's important to understand that you are the catch too, because then you'll just be accepting of anything.
Yeah.
And if you're accepting of anything, then there's no value in that.
Right. And I think that's why this was a very important conversation that I felt like needed to be had. And for men specifically, women are taught, by their fathers, uncles, like, all of those figures, not to fall for no BS, not to just do anything, not to let a man say or, do whatever he wants, to have certain values, to have certain standards. And I feel like when we talked about earlier with men, us being taught like, yo, just chase. Now you wind up in a situation that, like, that's not ideal. Like, now your mindset changes. You want this, like, you want to go right. She walking all the way to the left, but you settled for anything. You end up with 17 baby mamas. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, and this is just the reality. I'm not promoting that, right? But that's why I feel like, women, my hat goes off that you guys were taught that, but unfortunately, majority of men were not taught that. It was just like, get anything you can, right? So we got a caller. Got somebody calling in. Here we go. What's going on, Dave?
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hey, what's up, man?
So for you, right? How do you feel like the transition is for you? Have you noticed that, like, maybe if when you were younger you were taught to chase and and that the woman was the catch. Did that make you feel like maybe you didn't have as much value? Like if women held all the value and as men, we didn't have the same type of value?
Absolutely. Let's go back to when I was young. I've seen my older brothers, my older cousins, they go out there, they go and they pull a girl that they want. I seen that. So it was naturally, I was like, oh, if they could do it, I could do the same thing. You get what I'm saying? So I went out there and I used to actually go talk to a girl first and try to fulfill whatever that girl needs were. But I was young and I was dumb. And I'm gonna educate you on that. I was young, I thought that I had to do that because that's what I was taught. But as getting older, being in the relationship realm for a while now, I learned that I gotta get my needs met as well. My needs met as well. So let's see what I need, and then what I need, then I can meet a girl that can meet me halfway. Right. So I don't have to go out there and chase. Why can't it be a mutual thing to where we chasing each other? She say hello at the coffee shop. I say hello at the coffee shop. All right, I see her every Thursday. That's fine. She see me every Friday. That's fine. It's okay. Why can't we just meet in the middle, just like a conversation? It takes two people to have a conversation, right? So we just meet each other and we just talk. So in the beginning, it felt like I had to do the chasing. It was my obligation to do the chasing. Because we got to think it back. Women want to be courted. Women want this and women want that and women want that. And our duties is to provide that for the women. But what about us? I'm a catch too. I got a degree or two. I'm a good looking guy. I'm a good looking fella. You get what I'm saying? I want to be courted. I ain't saying I want to be courted all times, but maybe once, twice a month, I want to feel appreciated.
Don't make me no bubble bath though.
Right?
Oh no! We're not doing bubble baths. I don't want the shimmer. I don't want the shimmer.
Don't
but chivalry is not dead though. But chivalry is not dead. Let's not forget that. Chivalry is not dead. So we got to hold up a certain standard to where we got to do a certain part. But does that mean we're not to catch ourselves? That does not mean that. But chivalry is not dead. So we only are able to hold up a certain part.
Right. And the big thing with that is I like what you said in the sense of like, yo, like I have value, right? That doesn't mean that chivalry is dead. That doesn't mean that I don't do whatever it is that my mother taught me to do, like opening doors and closing, pushing chairs in and all that. Like that don't mean I don't do all of that. What that means is that as for men, this is a men empowerment episode. For men, you have to realize, like, bro, like you don't have to settle for anything. You don't have to settle for just anything, right? And that's one of those things where when we hear chasing, it's almost like that's another thing you said, like let's chase each other, right? Like we in this together. Like let's chase each other. So I agree with that 1,001%. I can't touch on everything.
Hold on. It's the same thing like a marriage. Just like you got to keep the fire alive. You want to keep the presence alive. You want to keep the love alive. You got to do things for him. She got to do things. He got to do things for you. You just got to keep it alive. You both have to like equally put in the work. It's just not cat mouse game. It's not a cat mouse game anymore.
You know what, Trey? Something that came to me, and I never thought about this until I heard Devon and something that he said. When we were younger and we were chasing, we wasn't chasing a relationship. So we have to really define what the chase is. Because it does make a difference. It makes a difference because when you get older now, you know, you're not so quick to bring anybody to your bed because you've already had those crazy episodes or stuff in your life. You know what I mean? So you start
out here than babies.
Yeah, you start to value what it is that you start to need more than just sex. So your mindset is changing because you're evolving. But when you're a teenager and when you first start chasing, that's the only thing that you're thinking about. You're only chasing I was about to say, you only chase the sex.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. Like you get it. You get it. How like women, they cherish their virtue, but men are
Yeah.
not really like told to cherish that virtue. So women cherish it, but a young growing up teen male, he gets to just do whatever and not cherish his side of it. You get what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that.
So I'm in the comments.
Yeah, I want to ask Eric, what is it?
So Eric, if you want to come on live, there's the link is in the is in the comments. I'll drop it in the comments again. But if not, you can elaborate in the comments because I want to see you know what's for you. What more is it? Oh, there it is. Eric says some women don't cherish it either. And we're seeing that a lot these days. I know for me, like we're seeing that a lot these days, where there are a lot of women that don't cherish it, right? So now, as men, if we have to hold ourselves to a high standard, it's the same thing as being like a businessman, right? If I'm a businessman, I don't just partner with any company. Right, Naran is somebody that'll tell you, and he's really big on this. Right, Naran won't just come on anybody's platform. Right, Naran won't have just anybody come onto his platform. Right, like he's one of his many jobs, like we talked about earlier, is content creating, podcasting, preaching, and things of that sort. And when you do stuff like that, you can't just do business with anybody, right? They talk about like that saying, like making the deal with the devil, right? Like you don't want to do that, right? You can't just lay down with anybody. You can't just make a deal with anybody. And as men, we got to get to the point where we realize, like, yo, I have value. Like I don't have to just be with anybody. I don't have to just like I got 2 sons, like, and my sons are gonna know. I'm gonna teach them a pickup line or 2 if it's still relevant. But at the same time, I want them to understand, like, yo, like, if I don't have this, I'm still of value. I still hold value, even if I don't have all of the girls and stuff like that. Like, I still have value. I remember me in my teenage years. I remember one of my friends would come over on the weekend. We would, dress up in our best fits and stand outside in front of the house and see, who could get the most phone numbers and stuff like that. Right, like now, nobody got my phone number. Like everybody can't call my phone. Like everybody can't have your time. Like you get what I'm saying. Like even and this is just outside of relationship. So when I say that, I'm not saying that like I got girls calling me or anything like that. Like not like that. But
clean it up, Doc.
No, I'm saying in the sense like even men and women, like. Everybody can't be on your line. Everybody can't have your time, like that time, that energy. Like you got to hold yourself to a high standard because you only got a certain amount of energy to divide throughout the day and to divide through your work and all that other stuff. So, Naran, if you had to give somebody some advice that's like they don't know how to transition to looking at themselves with value. Like what would be like something that you would tell them like, yo, like you gotta look at yourself.
One of the things I do tell people is if you're never get in a relationship, be it sexual or long-term or whatever, while you're still trying to figure yourself out as an adult.
Yeah.
Because like if you're just coming through a real traumatic situation, and you're not yourself, or some people may be battling depression and you're not yourself and you're trying to like recover and fix yourself, because that person is going to be with the person that you bring to the table, and that may not necessarily be who you are. So you got to find out who you are first as a person before you start to bring somebody else into whatever it is that you got going on. If you want to focus in on business, if you want to focus in on your career, if you want to focus in on those things, you have to really decide how much of my time do I want to invest into a relationship, because relationships are investments. How much do I want to invest in a relationship, and how much I want to invest into whatever it is that I'm pursuing.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing that we can do is take somebody else's time for granted. We have our needs, yes, and we have our wants and desires, but we can't bring somebody else in and we be selfish because they have their needs too, and it might not necessarily be co-equal. Now, if you find somebody that's in your lane, and then when you heal, you're gonna probably look at that person that you were with if you were going through something where it was a healing process needed. You're gonna be looking at that person like, yo, I'm not. We don't mesh. You know,
Right.
You met the old me. You met a version of myself that is no longer existent, and then it's harder to break up. It's harder to break up than it is to just not even get involved.
That's crazy. That's the one right there. That's crazy. And it's sometimes people talk about growth as if it's one of those things where you just pursuing something, you grow, the other person doesn't grow, or y'all grow in a different direction. But I love the fact that you brought trauma into it, right? Like I could be going through something right now, and that doesn't take away from the person that I am, but I'm just in a in a different shell right now. And now once I heal from that, I'm looking at you. It's like picking somebody up at the club while you're drunk, and you wake up in the morning and you're looking at them like, what the. Like so, while you're inebriated, or your mind, or you're not seeing things, or you're not the best version of yourself. One day you'll wake up when you become a better version of yourself. Like, wait, what am I doing? Right? How often do you think that happens to men, Devon?
It happens to us a lot because we don't really do mental self checks. We're not really taught to really to express how we feel. Sometimes we internalize. We cannot be happy, and we will hold on, or we'll try to beat around the bush. Even if we are good communicators, sometimes it's just hard for us to be emotionally communicative.
Yeah.
Because that side of us hasn't been nurtured.
Yeah.
And then when you're dealing with somebody that you might not want to still be in a relationship with, or you might not care about on that level, but you might care about them as a person, you now are more tender with how you're going to go about it. You start talking to other people, man. What should I tell her? And before you know it, life can just go on and exist, and it's just a lot. And depends on your age. It depends on what you've been through previously. A lot goes into it because finding somebody finding somebody is hard. It's not hard to find somebody to hang out with, but finding somebody is hard.
Yeah.
That you really want to spend the rest of your life with most of your time. Are we talking about preparing for marriage? Are we talking about preparing, like just being single? Because each lane has different boundaries. We're talking about being prepared for marriage, then there's a whole different mindset that we have to start to develop. We're talking about being honest while we're single, then there's a whole different conversation that we have to have, because all of those things can be healthy, and all of those things have a vision. Because what if a man is telling a woman that he's abstinent? Women gonna be like, oh, are you gay? Like, you know what I mean? Because that's something that's not her, but people are in their lanes, and people have to be respected wherever they are in their lanes. But we have to learn how to articulate who we are.
Yeah, definitely. Those mental health self checks for men, all the men that are watching, the women that are watching, encourage your man, your brother, your father. Even if you have to check in for them, like, hey, everything all right? Try to open up that door. And start that conversation, start that process, because those self checks are the real deal. And Naran, you said something else about who you really want to be around, who do you really want to be with, right? And I actually heard this in a movie where a guy said, It was a chick flick. I like chick flicks. Honest, confession. And the guy said in the movie, he said, it's not about who you want to spend the night with Saturday, but it's about who you want to spend all day Sunday with. What are your thoughts on that, Davon? Like when you think about, like, as men, how often should we be thinking about who we want to spend Sunday all day night with?
I think it's very imperative that we always have that in the back of our mind, not even the back of our mind, the forefront of our mind. We think about Saturdays as like a night out of fun. And with that night out of fun, it can lead to so many other things. But Sunday for all of us is the healing of the soul. Whether you're going to church or you're just taking a day just to relax with family, it always just feels so just like healing of the soul. So what they mean by Sunday is I'm thinking long term. So I take that long term. So I've also read, I don't know if it was a meme or a preacher that said it or someone that said it, but a person of wisdom had said it. And what they said was like, you young guys are looking for the person that you could deal with right now based off the body type, but you got to get the mindset of the women that can raise your children. So that's kind of like the same thing what we're talking about between Saturday night and Sunday night. So we can go out to the clubs Saturday, but in Sunday we rejoice for the Lord. You get what I'm saying? So we just want to be mindful of that. And when that Sunday comes, we just want to be mindful of the person that we think about long term and just thinking about qualities. Just make sure and just not sufficient with the surfacey, which is like body and materialistic things of that nature. So if men are not doing that in today's world, listen, I suggest that you do it. Yeah. Trust me. I suggest that you are out there, you doing it. You are practicing that. Honestly.
Right. Yeah, for real. Because I think now as older men, we think we're now forced to think long term, right? Especially when it comes to our finances. We want to be the provider. We want to be the head of the house. And certain things come with that, right? Being a dad is a lot more important than a lot of people think it is to men, right? Like, because that whole deadbeat movement, right? Like, deadbeat baby fathers and deadbeat husbands and stuff, right? But being a father to a lot of men is extremely important, right? And one of the things that you notice as a father is now you start looking at the mother like, I didn't know that you wasn't gonna be making bottles. I didn't know that you wasn't gonna like I didn't know that you wasn't nurturing, like like the baby cry and then they just walk out the house or something like that or whatever. Like these things matter, right? So now when we think about long term, again, when we talk about us having value, you no longer have to, like, what you're chasing is different. So now that's where the value comes in, because now I don't care what you look like for the most part, but what do you bring to the table, right? And then I see. Right. Let me bring this comment up. Eric said in the comments, what do you do when you are with a woman and she is dope in practically every phrase of the game, but then she wants to go to purity, spiritually cutting all of the mind blowing off and just wants to be your friend? Wait, I got to read it from here. And just wants to be your friend. A man who is still super athletic and vibrant, if you know what I mean. It's a super tough pill to swallow. Complete transparency here. So
that's what we're talking about. So that whole equally yoked and spirituality, and when you get a certain age, if you're dating, and I believe Eric said that he was an older gentleman, a single older gentleman, and you're dating someone and you all are on one path together, and then all of a sudden they come Sunday and they're like, oh, I feel convicted of the Lord, and we just going to be like, because that's immature. And I tell you why, and I'm saying this as a pastor, and I'll tell you why, because you knew that you were on that path before. What they're trying to do is force somebody to marry them. You can't force nobody into marriage with sex, because that ain't gonna that's not gonna keep the relationship. So if you wanted to be celibate, then you should have said that walking into the door, so that we all could have been there. And if this is something that we can sit down and agree to together, right? That don't mean you friend zone them.
Right.
Because you can be intimate without having. Oh yeah, I was talking about marriage. Wow. Maybe she just didn't. She just probably wanted out and didn't know how to say it, because people use any excuse to get out. Church, the bishop, you know, like it's just difficult. It's hard to say because she's not here to say her side. But if you guys are you still together? Are you still in conversation? Or are you just friend? It's because it's different. It's difficult. Yeah, she texts every. Yeah, she's playing games. Yeah, she's playing games. Yeah, she in between and betwixt.
But see, that's the thing, and this is how you know that, you know, and I know Eric personally, right? So I'll say, you know, publicly, Eric is what I consider to be a high value man, right? Like Eric said, he's an older gentleman, super athletic, still works out to this day. I believe he's still doing like a workout challenge like right now. Every morning he posts pictures, like it inspires me. Like, yo, when I get older, I need to be in shape like this. Like, you know, Eric is the reason why, and transparent moment, Eric is the reason why I'm not in jail, why I'm not dead. You know, he stepped in my life when I was young, and he's still doing that for so many other young kids. You know, just being that father figure, that male figure, to really be there and guide you. And when you're going in the wrong direction, you know, show you things that are practical, tangible, you know, keep it real. Good paying job, you know, nice dressing guy, like high value, right? So now when you're somebody like that, and let's say this woman was looking for an out, right? You get the out, but now she sees the value. You know what I'm saying? So now we have to play the like, I don't
wait, hold on. I never want to interrupt nobody. So we saying this word out, right? Did Eric say himself that he felt like she wanted to out?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so
was that what he said?
No, so
because
we don't know if she wanted to out, but it definitely seems
right.
Like there was my question would be this, right? What is it? Because for me, when I see this, when men do this, you know how men do this thing where, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna snitch on us for a minute, but you know how men do this thing where they don't want to be in a certain type of relationship, but they still like, I'm still gonna text you, I'm still here though, like you know, like or that hey big head text every 3 months just to, you know, still stay relevant, or whatever. So but I definitely think it's a conversational piece. I definitely think it's a conversational piece, and I think that because of his value, you know, it's always going to be a point where it's like, you know, I need to stay in the loop. We still need to text. We still need to talk, you know, regardless of what was the reason why she did it, but she's still going to stay around because of value.
Can we pull that question just back up again? Is that possible?
I got you.
Because if we think about it, maybe she didn't want out. Maybe she just decided, all right, let's connect on a deeper level than what we're doing in the physical. Because he did mention some spiritual, right? So he probably got used to one thing. Eric, I don't want to talk for you. Listen, I'm just giving a perspective. I love you, brother. Peace and love. But maybe she just wanted to connect on a deeper level, maybe a spiritual level. Maybe she just like, all right, we doing too much spiritually. I mean, physically. Excuse me. Physically, let's connect on a deeper level. Sometimes people pull back. That doesn't mean they want to weigh out. So I don't want to jump the gun. So let's put that question back up there.
Yeah. So what the question was, is pull that up. I'm pulling it up right now. The only confusing part for me while I'm pulling the question up, right? The only confusing part for me in this scenario is the friend zone thing. That's the part that kind of
that was his perspective on it. Was there a conversation had? Did she say that out of her mouth?
Uh-oh.
Let's get into it, guys. Let's get into it.
She's going back and forth. That's what he said. He said she's going back and forth. So it's not going to show me the whole question on. It's not going to show the whole question on the screen, but I'll read it again.
Okay.
It says, "What do you do when you are with a woman and she is dope in practically every phase of the game, but then she wants to go to purity, spiritually cutting off all the mind-blowing, you know what, and just wants to be your friend? A man who is still super athletic and vibrant, if you know what I mean. It's a super tough pill to swallow. Complete transparency here." So,
okay.
Friend zone is cut off.
Yeah, the friend. That's the part that kind of got me like, like the friend.
How do y'all feel about that? Like.
Well, we need Eric to be specific on. Did she say she just want to be a friend? We need the specifics in this.
That's what it said.
Could you all do that? Like, could you be a friend with somebody that you dated?
Yeah, all right.
A serious date, like
okay.
And now y'all just friends.
Absolutely.
So I think that it all depends on the relationship. Like what did the relationship entail, right?
That's what I'm talking about, relationship.
Like I think for me, I can. I think for me, I can do it, definitely. But I've seen a lot of people try and fail. I should say that.
I could be your friend. Like, if I see you, I'll say, "What's up?"
Hello. Like, a general hi.
Yeah, hey, how you doing? Like, but
yeah.
why we texting this stuff? Like, nah.
Not every day. Don't text me every day.
You know what? But I'm with you on that though, because the lines it's easy for the lines to get blurred. So I you know what? Because not for nothing. If I had a friend I don't have a friend like that, but if I had a friend like that, we didn't talk every day, and I never thought about it like that. Like it's not like a, because now the lines can definitely get blurred. Like definitely.
Somebody said it's a hard no.
For real. I'm telling you, that's a rough. Yeah,
I mean, all we could say is, listen, just have the conversation. Ask the questions that you were afraid to ask. Get the answers you were afraid to hear. Just have that conversation so that you could know what to do from there.
And say how you really feel. Because
absolutely.
Because like, why are you texting me every day? You want to be friends? I don't talk to my friends. I barely talk to some of my family every day. But those are demands that somebody in a relationship put on someone. Those are not demands that you put on a friend.
Yeah. And then now with this last comment, she always texting about how she miss all the loving and everything. Like if you doing that, that's blurred lines. Like, are you on this side or are you on this side? Like, are you?
She trying to find her way, and she want them there, and then y'all probably wound up being back together. Just be there for her and let her find her way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if this is a spiritual journey, he got to respect that. Am I correct?
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
I mean, but still be there. Still be there.
Be there.
Still be there for that person, and
Cornette is funny. Tell her to focus on her spirituality.
Cornette, why she can't do both though? Why she can't do both?
Yeah. I'm telling you. So just to bring it back full circle, right? High value men. You're a catch too, aka you have value too, right? Like
absolutely
you have value, right? And you have to move as if you have value, like. And this is just like that old saying, like if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything or anyone, basically, right? Men are in domestic situations, physically, emotionally, like it's and you don't want to put yourself in a situation like that because it took you too long to realize that you hold value as well. It's not to say that the woman that you're dealing with doesn't hold value. It's not to say that a woman that you could deal with in the future doesn't hold value. But I just felt like it was very important to speak to the men and just really let us know, like, yo, like you have value too. You're a catch too, and just move accordingly, right? So. Day, do you have anything for our viewers before we head out?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just start with the topic. Everybody that's listening, if you're a man, adolescent, young boy, or teenager, just listen to yourself. Like, find out who you are first before you even jump into anything. Because if you look at the cup half full, you can't do anything for anybody else. Just know who you are, know what you need to heal yourself, whether it's trauma or just getting to figure out who you are. Again, Trey, it's always a pleasure. You have me. I jumped in, not even late. I just jumped in on a whim. It was a great conversation. I jumped in on a whim. Pastor Naron Tillman, man, I've been in the house when you preached a sermon. You're nothing less of amazing. I got to see you in person, so I'm a fan, a big fan, man. Yeah, just thank you guys that's viewing. Keep viewing because you give us the ammo to just keep continuing every week and every week. And once again, you guys know me. I love you guys. Let's just push the culture together.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks for pushing the culture.
Naron, you got anything for our viewers before we head out?
Yeah, so we've been doing these like yoga challenges all summer long. Tomorrow I'll be at Adelphi University in Hempstead, doing yoga, and we got music and food and all this other stuff. But I just want to stress that other than our physical health, our mental health is very important. And we spend a lot of time dressing up the outside, and we're dying on the inside. And this with this with COVID and us being in the house for so long, with this the drug culture, we don't even know. At least when I was coming up, we knew it was like crack, weed, and coke and heroin, right? We don't even know what these drugs are today. We just got to be mindful of our youth and young adults and what it is that they're going through, because sometimes we get into our own thing. We want our relationships, and we're not even looking at the things that's happening around us. So be mindful of our mindset. And men, know that don't overvalue, don't put nobody else's values before yours. Like, you have your values too. You should know them. You should stand on them. And if you find somebody that you can build with together, build for those who are in relationships. Build through tough times. It's easy to walk away. Big Mama and them didn't stay married for 50 years because they quit. They stayed married long because in year 26, 24, 25, it was dark, but they made it through those times, you know?
Right.
And a lot of times we walk away from relationships that we can really fix if we just stay the course. I think that's very important for us to understand. Thank you, Trey, for having me on your platform.
Thank you for coming on, man. Thank you.
I'm going to interview you. I told you on Walking Victory to talk about your podcast.
Oh, let's do it.
We can help get you promoted and out there. And everybody else, man, thank you for joining in. Eric, nice to meet you. I hope you have me back. I hope I didn't.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Because I got a part 2 to another episode I need you on. So y'all gonna see the pastor side of him. This Naron is also my cousin, so y'all saw the cousin side. The next episode where y'all see Naron, y'all see the pastor side of him. And then with everything that Naron talked about earlier, the yoga pop-ups, the podcast, if you go to the church's website, oneministries.church, all of those things are there. So whether you need a Sunday message, whether the Walk in Victory podcast, they talk about a bunch of different things from finance to worldview, mindfulness, things of that sort. You want to donate to the church, All of that is there. Like anything that you need, everything that Naran talked about is all there. They all have a landing page. It's user friendly. You can go on, right? Like you can do all of that, right? OneMinistries.church. And then lastly, I'll leave you guys with this. I had a great time. Last week there was something that came up, but we were able to come back strong. I love the vibe, with you guys in the comments. It felt like we're all in a room having a conversation, and that's really what I love, and I appreciate that. And then, lastly, for all the guys that are watching, just remember, it's not about who you want to spend Saturday night with, but who you want to be with all day Sunday. All right. And last but not least, do not forget that a better me. Oh, wait, I can't even do that. That's what I wanted to tell you guys. A better me equals a better we apparel. It's here. It's here. Right? Why worry? My steps are ordered by the Lord, right? So you can pick this up, as well as a few other shirts that you guys will see throughout the week. I'll be posting the fall collection starting tomorrow. But have 2 more designs that'll be a part of the fall line. So if you guys are interested, hit me in the DM. Don't worry, I'm not going to do y'all like how Amazon do when you ain't got Prime and it take 14 days to get there. Like, you'll have next day delivery. So yes, if you're interested, please DM me, and we can also do custom work as well. So if you need t-shirts, jerseys, kids parties, anything that you need, just hit us in the DM and we can definitely help you out with that. So last but not least, do not forget that a better me equals a better we. I will see you guys next Tuesday for episode 25. Have a great night.